Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's another Friday, and so I'm here to just talk for a couple of minutes about what I'm thinking about, and hopefully it encourages you. A couple weeks ago, I got Chinese food. I love Chinese food. Probably my favorite type of food. Jody, if you're watching this, I'm guessing you don't eat Chinese food because it seems all you like to eat is hamburgers and French fries and pizza. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Chinese food, love it. And of course, one of the great things about Chinese food is you get to open that fortune cookie, right? So this was the fortune that I got a couple weeks ago. It says this: man's mind is not a container to be filled, but rather a fire to be kindled. Man's mind is not a container to be filled, but rather a fire to be kindled. And I liked that. And it got me thinking, because a little bit of this is my approach to the Bible, to teaching, to faith, Christianity. So bear with me, but I want to try to get a couple thoughts out here. One of the things that bothers me about teaching at churches is often a pastor or a teacher will stand up there and give you 1, 2, and 3 how to do such and such, whatever that might be. And it sounds really fancy. They could spout out a whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of words. Of course, the Bible was written in different languages, so they can impress you with what those original languages really meant. And I actually think there's real validity. I'm not downing that. But sometimes what happens with people in church is they begin to come to just seek knowledge because they enjoy knowledge. They enjoy filling their mind with interesting things. And so often, I hear about in churches, well, we're not deep enough, and people are searching for this deep stuff. And I've got a lot of thoughts on that, way too many to share in a 5-minute video. But here's my approach to even when I do something like this. I realize that all of us are at different places on our spiritual journey. Some of you have been Christians and going to church for a really long time. Others of you don't really go to church at all. And so the whole concept is foreign, or you're not sure, what you believe, and you're still working through that. And I appreciate that. And actually, again, no matter where you are, that's why I want to just kind of encourage you on your journey. So while I think it's appropriate for me to sometimes say, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is what the Bible says, it's not really helpful to just know it. What I don't want to ever do as a spiritual leader is say things that people just take for granted and don't check out for themselves. I don't want to create spiritual robots. And yet I'm afraid that's a lot of times what churches and other places do. We are all at different places. And so I believe spiritual truth can be drawn out a bunch of different ways. And when we concentrate on what we know, oftentimes it stops there. We can know a lot of stuff, but knowledge is useless if we don't apply it. So I want to challenge people how to apply something so that they can use it in their everyday life. But you know what? I don't always have all the answers. And so my challenge is always going to be, go and search this out for yourself. There's this story in the Bible where one of the most famous people, the Apostle Paul, who wrote a lot of the Bible actually, he commended a church that said, you know what, they didn't just take what I said at face value, they went back and searched it out for themselves. I love that. He was commending them for saying, hey, just don't take my word out. Go search it out for yourself. Knowledge is power. But we can't tap into that until we start to do the exploration of ourselves. Here's the other thing that I know about spirituality and faith. I can't have that for you. I can't have that for someone who comes to my church. It's got to be a personal journey. And so me just spouting off a whole bunch of knowledge to impress somebody, I think is missing the point. What I want to do is challenge people to think beyond the box. What I know is that, as I said, we're all in different places on our journey. And some people just don't have their eyes opened to a particular truth yet. And it might take some time and it might take some process. The Bible tells us that. But here's what I also know. I also know that God gives a whole lot of credit to us. He's given us free will. He's given us choice. There's this great passage in Psalms chapter 8. It said he's talking about man. He's talking about how much God cares for man. And the author says, he's talking to God, yet you made them, man, only a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. You gave them charge of everything you made, putting all things under their authority. The flocks and the herds and the wild animals, the birds in the sky, the fish in the sea, everything that swims in the ocean. Lord, your majestic name fills the earth. And what I'm seeing there is God gives us responsibility. He doesn't just say, listen, you're going to be robots and you're going to do what I say. That passage says he made us just a little bit lower than the angels, than heavenly beings. And I take that to mean that we have these wonderful minds and a free will that God has given us to make choices for ourselves. And I'll just leave you with this thought, and maybe I'll pick this up next week or the week after, because I have a thought for next week, I think, already. But I'll finish with this thing. The problem is sometimes our knowledge gets in the way of knowing God. This passage in Romans says they knew God, but they wouldn't worship him as God or even give him thanks. And they began to think up foolish ideas about what God was like. The result was that their mind became dark and confused. And claiming to be wise, they became utter fools instead. And again, there's a whole lot more in that passage. But here's my final thought. Don't let knowledge be filling your mind for knowledge's sake. It does you no good. Instead, challenge, ask questions, be humble and teachable, genuinely humble and teachable, because you don't know it all. And on this journey for God that we're all in different places on, I believe he will show you what you need to be shown in due time. That's what I'm thinking about today. And if you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to comment or message me. But that's just what I wanted to share. I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.